We're a company that, okay. So we are a company that built initially a connected Holter. So we had a Holter that would run, it wasn't fixed with time. It would run along with a cell phone, and it can do multiple days of Holter. And once it's got into the PC app, it can be reported remotely by our team at the back end, and a report can be produced. So this is how we made our Holter and deployed it on the ground. Soon we were looking at scaling of the product, where I noticed the Holter had taken a new form and shape in the form of a patch in the US. We've been watching the system very closely, and we knew some American companies had started to deploy across the globe as well, but not in as wide as it should be. But they were coming on. So we built our whole Holter in the form of a patch. So by then, with our connected Holter itself, we had done about 60,000 Holter tests reported in the form of a SaaS mode, where we don't sell the hardware and the software reporting platform, but it run as a service mode, where per test the patient pays, our distributors pay us for the test as well as the report. When we built the patch, we did an initial prototype. We were targeting more 1 to 3 days. That's how we were looking at it initially. But we did that, and we were quite keen on looking at the two major patches globally. One was Medtronic's own Seek, which they were marketing in as an ELR globally. The second was the View patch on the American guys. I noticed they were gaining traction, and doctors who were supporting them. So it was quite a surprise during COVID when Medtronic actually came to us and said, "We would like to take a look at our patch." We had just announced it and put it online, but never really productized it. It hadn't gone into mass. We were still building the works on some changes to bring into the connected platform. Really wanted to make it easy such that no middle people are involved in running and managing the test. The test is put on at the patient end, and the report or seamlessly should come from back to patient's WhatsApp. That's how we are targeted. So the people in the middle don't really have to struggle enabling, managing, and reporting the test. So PadmaRhythms was the product which we had announced, and Medtronic took a look at our prototypes. Then we told them we not only have the product, we have the algorithms as well that report it, and the platform. So they looked at all that, and to our surprise, they said, "We would like to sign up with you guys if you're okay." That started the journey with Medtronic and PadmaRhythms. 1 year later, with a lot of work going into it, because they wanted 5-day tests. And in the tropical conditions, 5-day patches sticking on the skin was quite a bit of a challenge. We 3M got involved in the design as well. The journey ended in PadmaRhythms being brought to life into the market. Now, with let me just open the product and show you now how PadmaRhythms looks, what happens, and we can actually see a dashboard. My demo piece went missing, so I'm opening a finished packet. Just hold on. So this is how it is when it gets shipped to customers. I don't know if you're able to see. This has the main packing, and it has the additional packing, which has the application apparatus, the laser, cleaning. So this is how it looks. This is our brand name, and this is our company logo, and this is what it says on the product. Marketed by Medtronic. I don't know. Is it visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just open the packing. So when you open the packing, yeah, product layer. So it's a very simple tracking. It's quite thin. It has two components to it. It has the patch, plus the electronics that go with it. So this electronics goes into this patch, and there are multiple liners to remove. Once you remove those liners, you stick it onto the skin. Now, this patch is designed for a full 5 day, and it has an extended electrode as well. So we are very speaking about the kind of beat that it picks up. Our ECG quality is actually as good as any Holter can get. Now it's a patch. Very particular about the P region being picked up very well, which is the atrial abnormalities. So we do a full spectrum of the Holter analysis pretty well on this patch. And some of the highlights of this patch are it is built in such a way that it can sweat, can handle drain out of the sweat, and it's built very flexible. So that size is like this. This is a liner that comes off, and it will be really snug fit to the body. When you're actually moving and things like that, you'll find it's very athletic when it's sticking to the body. All this was carefully designed to make this patch really good. Now, I can ask Ajax to share the screen and show in the dashboard that goes with this, how we manage and run the test. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Ajax, go on, Ajax. You're on mute.
Can see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is the dashboard that Anand was talking about. I will see if I can. So this is what we use to schedule and track the progress of tests remotely. So what you see on the screen is, so the device that Anand showed actually connects to application that runs on the patient's phone and transfers data periodically using Bluetooth, and that data is sent to our server for analysis. And that again is done on a periodic basis. So both the phone and the device stores data. Device can store up to 3 days. So even if there is a discontinuity in transmitting the data, we would not lose any data. But having said that, once it comes to the server, it is analyzed. And what you see on the dashboard is actually a status of the ongoing tests and what has been completed. So you can see on the left side the patient details in terms of the patient name, age, gender, etc. And towards the right, you can see the test status and few additional details that we keep monitoring. When I say test status, right now what you see is completed, data pending, etc. But when a test is in progress and is running, it will show if in progress, if everything is okay. But let's say if the patch has come off from the skin, it will show that there's a lead off. If there's a low battery condition or let's say there's not enough memory on the phone to store data, or if the device is not connected, any of those conditions, we will get to know. This will get updated once in 40 seconds. We would also know how much of data has come into our server. So in case if there's a backlog, the phone was not connected for some time, all those details we will know. What make and operating system of the phone is being used. So all these details is collected proactively so that we can look at the current status, and if there needs to be any step taken to ensure a successful completion of the test, our support team can take that. Any questions so far?
Dr. Sullivan?
Please go on. I'm really intrigued. Go on. I need to understand. I have questions. I will come with all of them together.
Sure. So I'll show one of the sample data that we have recorded using this device. So what you see on the screen is something that was recorded from one of the patients who had undergone this test. So you can see the ECG is analyzed and the beats are annotated. And this is what the technician would use to review and prepare the report. So you can actually scroll through the data. And at the bottom, you can also see these markers, which has marked specific conditions that are detected. So he can actually directly go straight into those specific places in the ECG and excuse me, review those specific conditions as well and decide, what goes into the report. So you can actually add them into the report, add comments, all of that. And then he will edit your summary. This is again a templatized one. So he is presented with a template and then he can actually edit the specific details specific to that test. Once he does that, he will generate a report. So I'm just showing how it is done so that. So this is the report that goes to the patient and the doctor.
We lost your video, Jack.
Can you see now?
No, 1 minute. We're not seeing.
Share it again. Now?
Yes.
You can see.
So this is the report that goes to the doctor. So it has a summary of the different morphologies that were detected, the type of episodes that were detected, the heart rate details, the technician's comments, a statistical display of how the arrhythmias were and the RR details, maximum heart rate where it was found, minimum heart rate, and the different episodes that were selected by the technician to be included into the report.
So you showed us the different markers identified on the scroll window now, Jax?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So as you can see, Dr. Simple, the annotations speed up the reporting of the technician and his inability to miss things. So we handle noise as well pretty well. So noisy sections would get caught as noise. And if there are any doubted sections that are within the noise, they can re-annotate. He can also do shapes and corrections of types of beats if he wishes to do so. So Jax is loading the shapes now. So usually people don't go to this kind of detail, but we have those features as well. All the different types of ventricular beats that were caught and where the focus was. And if he thinks or the doctor thinks this classification is not correct, they can shift it. So all that is possible with this tool. And this tool is completely developed by us. All the algorithms also that go in for detection of all of these is done by us. Can you go back to the ECG Ajax and show your ruler as well? So you can actually zoom in sections. You can actually look at specific PR intervals, whichever. Can you show a sample PR Ajax in one of the next ones? Anyway, yes. Anywhere is fine. You have to bring it a little smaller, Ajax. Yeah, you have to bring it into the Q position there. Little more. So you will see the PR interval on top, which is the average Dr. Simple, and you will see each of the PRs there, which is varying. You can actually zoom in, zoom out, verify sections which are of interest as well. Some of the cardiologists we see like to go through in detail. Then this installation is a simple software installation. They can log in remotely and look at. You can look at the different P's caught by the algorithm. If there are any issues and then some sometimes vague morphologies come and then it becomes an issue to look at things. So all this detail can actually be done with this tool. And whatever you see, all these are some things that are generated and plotted with our algorithms. So that's PadmaRhythms for you. This is a common platform which helps you look at PadmaRhythms or our traditional Holter as well. All of them will get merged into this simple dashboard.
It is super impressive.
Okay, thank you. It's taken us a while. Dr. KG Balakrishnan was generous enough to come and teach us cardiology. He did it for about 2 years for us in our office. So he used to go to Fortis, finish his class, and come to on his way home to our office. And we used to have an evening class between 5 to 7. So that's how we got to all the details on the rhythms. He's still a go-to man for some of the things. We do very well on our PVC detections. We actually do likely better than GE and Philips on their published
The
algorithms.
VPCs, yes, I saw those.
Yeah.
So,
And the PVC general morphology, the MIT database has recognized PVCs by these American physicians. They do this yearly very well. So there's a full documented database there. We do pretty well. We are slightly lower than Morata and others, but we're well above GE and Philips on their algorithms. So that's how we do. And the P delineations, we are very, very good. Some of the best algorithms itself are only halfway measure of what we do. So there are researchers called Lim in the internet. You will notice him. So he's quite an authority on P delineations. We do pretty well. So we do very well on our AFib database as well, which is there available on MIT. So all this I'm giving you to tell you that our algorithms are at par or slightly above some of the world's best. That's the kind of effort that has gone in. So we didn't want to be an average Indian company arriving some stage and say this is the best we could do. We actually stretched that really far. So we are very well noticed globally now. We're ranked among the top 3 or 4 companies that have monitoring solutions in cardiology, because all of it is under one roof. This is one company that makes the hardware, the communication protocol, the algorithms, and reporting all on a single platform. So the technician sitting in Trichy can report a patient's test in Delhi or even Philippines if you like it. So it is in place editing on the server. There's no data copy, physically lifting things. All that is not done. All that is history. Okay. So if you're done with this, we'd like to show you a second product on the same platform, if you're okay. Is there any particular questions you have?
where are we in on the like in the Indian market? Where is this right now? It is there with the Medtronic division.
Yeah, Medtronic has just started to market it. So you saw this report. This particular patient is KK Talwar's, Delhi.
Okay.
Which hospital is he in now? Ajax?
PSRI.
PSRI. Okay. So this is running in few locations. They are doing a soft launch now. They want to be careful with the product. So they know now the algorithms and platform is already settled. The physical product, the patch is new. Is yet
So the
seen.
5-day duration of the patch that you are giving is pretty long. It is not like that is the biggest challenge that people are facing with those patches. The company which is marketed in the US, as far as I have an understanding, the duration that you're giving is pretty good.
So 5 days, yes, Medtronic was very particular about 5 days because some of the disease burdens are best understood long term. So they did a full study on the ground to say, let's do a 5-day. If people want it for 3 days, they can always use it. Actually, there are many tests that are running 7 days. So frequently people ask for a week's. So many of the electrophysiologists prefer a week when they're looking at atrial rhythms. We've also seen quite extensive
You mentioned
use
that
of
there is an additional electrode that can be changed and you can further increase the duration, right?
So it's not the electrode. So what happens is that there's the patch and the device. The patch can be thrown away and the new sticker can be put and the device can be extended. So that is another way to do it. But Medtronic, unfortunately, right now has only a package where the device and the hardware is sold as a single piece.
Okay.
It's very easy to do what you just said, but they want to keep it simple now. You buy a pack, you finish a test. So that's what they are looking at. So Actually, the hardware can be reused even across patients because it's not touching the patient's body. The technician has to just remove it, sterilize the hardware. He can actually do an ETO sterilization in his facility. If there is a hospital has the facility, they just can use it and put it back to a new patient with a new patch. So that
That is
would
where the Indian version of working comes in. That is what was my second question. So yes, that is where the Indian version of things come into play. We don't have. So how much would you say that Medtronic is marketing this in for the cost?
so they are doing a 10,000 rupees for a 5-day test.
So when it comes to the hospitals, right? This is how the 10,000 can be cut down to 5,000 by reusing the entire thing.
Not even 5,000, we are well within 5,000 actually. So interesting that you should say, we spoke to some cardiologists in Chicago.
Mhm.
There were two cardiologists of Indian origin over there. The first question they asked me is, can we bring down the cost? It is not an Indian thing. So I'm just letting you know the
You
American.
mentioned the Indian cardiologist, so it is an Indian thing. The American will die if you speak to a proper American cardiologist and tell him that you can reuse. He will not have the brains to think it that ways. I'm not subjugating it to a territory, but you know the reuse thing, we have it in our system. It is our hardware that understands the reuse. The American people don't understand the reuse phenomenon that well.
But strange that you should say it, but they do it pretty differently. Zeopatch, which runs in the US, where you ship back the product after use, they reuse the electronics. They repackage it at the factory and send it back. I don't think the patients know it when it comes as a fresh packing, but actually the electronics is put onto another patch, repackaged and sent back. So it's kept behind him. So he does not know. Yeah, what you say is true. But I guess we want to target emerging economies. There's a requirement for solutions like this, and they're fairly expensive. We would take this as a reuse patch across the globe. That's our plan. We're actually planning to take it to Southeast Asia, South Africa, Middle East. They're all regions that actually have very high cost of these things or nothing. A big midway shift.
Yes, the gap is very big, and
Very
even
big.
that gap, the people, the one thing that you mentioned, that you can do it online, that you can, a person sitting in Philippines can be evaluated sitting in Trichy. So you know the African subcontinent and the Southern Asian continent, where the expertise is not available. You know, there are not that many cardiologists sitting there who can sit and evaluate it, while you just have to ship this and train them how to put the patch, which is very easy, and you can give them the reports online. Is that gap that you are bridging? It is an amazing thing that's being done. And again, the cost, yes.
Cost will be really less. So we're thinking we'll market it internationally at 4,000 rupees. So it will be a price they haven't
If I may
seen.
ask, what is the cost of your manufacturing?
Okay. So our patch, which is the disposable, sits around, let's say 500 to 700 rupees. And the electronics is about 2,600, 2,700. So if you reuse the electronics, it'll last you 2 years, 3 years easily. So you can see per test, it'll cost you some 10 rupees. That's all
So
it'll
again,
add.
if I may ask you, why did you pitch in with Medtronic, and why did you not just start it on your own?
See, I have spent time on the global scene. When you spend time on the global scene and you say you're an Indian company bringing a product like this, there is a sense of doubt. I can tell you, I was on stage presenting this with the likes of Amitabh Kant and Chris Gopalakrishnan sitting on the thing, judging or jury. He had a disbelief that we're competing with some of the best in the world. So that's the other Indian mindset that I am fighting with. So when somebody like Medtronic signs up with me, the very Indian who had a doubt on me say that must be good. Happens instantly. So it's a psychological barrier that I'm crossing. Once this brand gets built, I don't need Medtronic actually.
Yes. So how long are you going to be fixing it with Medtronic Padma Labs?
So PadmaRhythms will go with Medtronic, let's say 1 to 2 years in India, where we'll launch this globally. And then in due credit, we'll tell them we'll like to slash the price, bring it down. I'll have Medtronic talking. I'll tell them either you work with me or I walk away. So I don't want to be brash to them because they've been very nice to us. They've come and respected our solution here, taken it. They're actually looking at taking it global. Their aim is to actually take it global because they've withdrawn Seek now. Seek is not available. They say it's a bad product, built very bad, and they are not able to scale it up. If they want to take it globally, the discussions at that point will define how things go on. So it's all a matter of how things pan out. Medtronic leadership, their managing director asked me in the room, Anand, as an ethical company, which of the things can you reuse? He asked. I pointed at the hardware to him. He looked at his own business team and said, see, this is what we should be doing. But his business team and quality team are dead against it. So that's how strange the company is. So they'll all come around. Everyone is talking about reuse, not just reuse for a cost to the patient, but reuse from an environmental perspective. ESG is becoming very big.
That is very important. That is a very
social
big challenge.
responsibility. Yeah, too. So everybody will come around electronics reuse. Look at the amount of dumping that will happen. So it will come around. I don't think even Medtronic can stop it, but these initial days, everybody wants to be careful. The mistakes they've done. So that's how the journey is going to be. But it's open. Our contract is free to walk away. So I've been bullish enough not to tie anything down. I told Medtronic, you want to work with me, you have a free contract. You or me can walk away at any time. They said, okay. But it's so far I am tied up with them, it's mutual. They can't go to another partner and I can't go give it to anybody else. So we will respect them now and proceed with this business because this takes me globally. Let's say I go to Monash University in Australia. I go to the cardiology department and I show them PadmaRhythms and tell them I've tied up with Medtronic. They're going to have less questions on.
They'll take you more seriously.
Yeah. So they'll take me.
They'll entertain you for 15 more minutes.
No, they've been good. I've met Dr. Ian Meredith. I don't know if you know, even before Medtronic signed up, he welcomed me well. He said, I can imagine next set of technology coming from south of India, he said. I was glad to hear it. He had a dossier on me in front of his desk. So I'm telling you, the image of Indians bringing solutions globally has changed. They're accepting it. So he gave me a full half an hour, despite being the head of cardiology. So things are changing. So when I go back to Australia this time, I'm going to take the meetings with the best of the best. Tell them here, I'm going to conquer the world. This is what it is. And you're going to see a patch that's going to beat whatever the West has been offering you. So that's the, yeah.
If I may ask you one more question. With Medtronic, yes, but have you considered it tying it up with like the Apple had a controversy with I'm forgetting the name of the company where
yes, they withdrew. They had to withdraw.
They withdrew on it, right? So have you considered entering that gap space where there are so many wearable devices that are coming in? And trust me, this is the treatment to these things, the rhythm, so electrophysicians, whichever are there in the country, the ablation that is being done in the country, and
we lost you there.
I think we lost.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi got disturbed. So the implantable devices that are being put into patients, this condition, the rhythm disturbances, the conditions which are there, the patients belong to a certain strata of the society. Those who do not belong to that strata of the society don't get diagnosed. We don't know them, but they don't get diagnosed. I'm talking about India. I'm not talking about the world. I'm talking about India. So those people are happy investing into wearable devices. Just a consideration. Obviously, you are bigger minds than I am, but
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. So what we looked at when we looked at the other wearable devices, they were not. See, PadmaRhythms actually stands very well today because it's seen 80,000 active patients. When I say active patients, all had some problem or the other. So we have a large database of what we have caught and why. So for us to enter the consumer space is actually much better than some of these guys are doing, where you can actually produce. But the thing is, it's going to take a lot more capital and a lot more respect. So we said, let's do the B2B, which is through hospital. established, maybe in a year or two down the line, we will go full consumer. We will enable people, they can come online, ask for a device, we will report it even for them. So what is happening to blood tests eventually will happen to these tests, where people actually ask for it themselves. You don't need a prescription. And then when actual patients start to flow, you guys will have a long queue because they're all coming with factual reports showing some problem or the other. So that bridge will get solved, but we have delayed it for at least a year. We said we won't do that now.
So why I'm asking you this on the wearable devices is because the patient modality and the patient asking on continuous monitoring is opened up. You know, there was a time when people were okay with pricking on their cells for the RBS, you know, managing it like fasting le rahe hain hum, we are taking postprandial. But people are now coming in asking for the wearable, you know, sticking in continuous RBS monitoring.
Yeah, I know.
Are you getting what I'm trying to put through?
Yeah, I'm getting, I know where it's going.
So the educated people who know these diseases are more open to having continuous monitoring, and the wearable devices are the future.
I know. Everybody's telling us this. Somehow it's going to take a lot more capital for us to go consumer. So we said, let's focus on what strengths we've gotten. We've gotten the community to trust us. See, like I said, it just took me 15 minutes for you to see what we've done. And you're able to appreciate. So this I'm seeing across the board. If I show you the next product, you'll be a little more shocked. Because we went to a doctor to show him to see what he says. It turned out to be a sales call. He quoted a price and said, at this price, I'll take it to my hospital. So you'll have to wait. Ajax, why don't you show this? So we have a product called PadmaRhythms. So what we did on the platform, we put in more sensors on the same device, single device, and said, let's target ward patients in hospitals. So this we did during COVID. I was trying to see if I can remove the nurse from doing this collection of vitals in the wards, where they chart the Muse chart and do the early warning system where they actually track a patient. We said, why does the nurse have to do it? And all of the key doctors who always told me the nurses always don't collect the data properly. Many of the times it's fudged. They're looking at the patient's general health and filling things. So we said, why not make this digital? It should become automatic with a simple wearable, but be at ICU quality. So we pushed it hard and put it ICU quality such that today, during COVID, we deployed this small device in the ICUs actually. So you're seeing a whole lot of patients from Jayadeva Institute of Cardiology in Bangalore. 2 ICUs actually run our devices. They stopped using their little monitors that they had now. So this is a central grid at the patient's, at the nurse's desk, as well as remotely, like the way Ajax has opened it. It gives you all the vitals. It also gives you color codes of how the patients are doing based on the Muse score. As the Muse score climbs up, it will turn color showing who are the critical patients and why. So you can actually double click and open any of them. Ajax, go ahead and open one of them, no? It'll do a live plot of the ICU monitor, like the way it is done in a hospital. And this is done by just a wearable. And what we have in the hospital is a slightly palm-sized variant, but what we're going to launch is actually much, much smaller. I have it with me here. And it has a few tricks up its sleeve, which is very interesting. Since it's ward patients, we said we are not going to put a BP pump and then calculate the blood pressure the traditional way, because that is going to be cumbersome for every patient. So we actually ran a deep learning algorithm that extrapolates pulse volume, pulse pressure to blood pressure. And during COVID, we actually ran a study. Dr. Jayaprakash from Jayadeva ran a study. We noticed the blood pressure trend was very, very accurate, almost fairly accurate. Like you go take one at that point in time from a patient, it'll actually match. So in the study, it actually mapped very well. And this is what it is. We have made it for even people who want to do, let's say, some research with it. For instance, the SpO2, you will see the perfusion index, the standard deviation, the intensities on the different LEDs that are going, all of them are shown on the screen there. And you can actually map the waveforms as they are being picked up from the patients. So it's a very powerful device. We are yet to launch this fully. We're thinking we're going to touch all wards. And we want to do it very simply, not go sell the devices. We're actually thinking 25 rupees per day per bed. And we're saying you don't worry about the hardware. We'll leave the hardware with you and we'll enable all the patients that are there in your hospital. You can identify the wards. So some people will start with smaller wards and we are hoping we get on big with this. And if you see my video, this is the size of the device that we are actually talking about. It exactly looks like PadmaRhythms.
Could you please enlarge Mr. Anand's video, please?
I
Yeah,
think
yes.
that's okay.
So this is the patch that takes this. Both these are completely reusable in this case, unlike PadmaRhythms. And this is made out of silicon. It takes standard electrodes at the back, simple electrodes. And right now we have a finger clip SpO2 and the device gets plugged onto this. And this goes onto the chest like this. That's all there is. You put this through your clothing and you put it on the finger. This gives you all the vitals that you saw on the screen. That's the power of the
The
system. So,
ECG, the SpO2, the respiratory rate, the blood pressure, all of them.
and body temperature.
How does it sense the blood pressure?
That's what I just said. So once the PPG wave is picked up, the photoplethysmography. So if you saw on the wave, right, they give us small bumps that go on. Each bump is actually a pulse pressure. The area under the curve is actually the blood volume, the pulse volume. And so what we do is we do a training of this. We've taken about 2 million beats and trained for every pulse beat what can be a corresponding blood pressure. Because the blood pressure actually directly affects the pulse volume at the finger. So with that deep learning, once a patient's one-time calibration is done for his blood pressure and his physiology type, every time his SpO2 gets plotted, we predict the BP of the patient.
And what is the sensitivity and the specificity of it with the IA invasive and the normal NIBP?
We haven't done invasive. We are going to do the study now. We are choosing the hospitals right now as you speak, because we wanted to do a proper interarterial blood pressure and mapping to that. With the NIBP, which we did, we saw very high accuracy, but the problem is it was still a small population. We did 140 patients in the COVID wards during the COVID period. So we did the standard NIBP equipment. So it's in well above 90s. Actually, but we have our own doubts on its accuracy with respect to larger patient base, which we are.
And where is this projected to? As in, this device is connected to a central monitor somewhere?
Yes, at the nurse's desk.
Like this one, which I have here.
Yeah.
So this is my, this gives me all my patients, all my ICU patients come here.
Yeah, same thing. Similar, you will see. Whatever you saw in Ajax, same thing.
This is a central monitor. This is a CPS system.
Yes.
So that device is sorry, is it wired or is it connected via Bluetooth or something?
So it's a Bluetooth, a small device behind the patient's bed, and it goes into the Wi-Fi into the hospital.
So this this device which goes on the chest wall is connected via a Bluetooth to a station device on the bedside of the patient, and that goes to the central monitoring system.
Yes.
And this is via the finger plethysmograph.
So we have another option since you mentioned it. We've been doing research to get rid of this from the finger, where I've been trying different portions of the body. I'm able to pick up very well from the artery that goes up to the brain.
Carotid here.
Yes, exactly there.
Or the lobe. This.
Lobe is very easy, but lobe patients don't like things hanging from their ear.
Yes.
So because
the carotid, if you can convert it into a patch, like just like the patch which is there on the ECG electrode. So a patch here and a patch here.
That's exactly what I have. We've within our small limited test base, it has worked very well. But I would like to do a larger test base before I can push it up, because we're relying on the BP as well coming off that. But this has been a request to get this off this finger, because that is still small. You see how small it is.
It is small, but you know, the breakage will be very high. The breakage, understand, these are the patients. In the ward, the patient will play fidget and the breakage of the machine will be very high.
Cable, particularly the cable.
Yeah, the cable will snap off.
Because this is pretty rugged.
Yeah. Ashi, मेरे को एक SpO2 probe ला के दे.
So yeah, going to the chest is a big deal, but we noticed it's not a very easy one. But and the patch is also slightly big. I will need it at least about a 25 mm circle diameter. I need to place the pickup points pretty wide for it to work very well from the artery that is around the. I'm actually going more closer to the spine, right about here.
If you go there, will have issues because this device that you're showing to me is prior to it being used by other patients in the ward. You will want to use it with people who go into invasive monitoring.
Correct.
Right. You, like, for example, me, I will want to use it to even for studying purposes. The moment you want to market it, people will ask you the question, very simple question: how close is it to the range? The range between the exact intra-arterial monitoring by the invasive method, the NIBP, which is the conventional method. So, what is the difference? Because the NIBP and the intra-arterial monitoring have a range.
Correct.
Right. So the range will be expected from you on this.
That's true.
So before you market it, you will have to give them the range of at least 100, 500 patients. So before you give them the range, you will have to put it on those patients who are being actively monitored on the invasive monitoring. So when you want to put it here, these are the comatose patients, very high likelihood of them developing sores.
Okay.
And very high likelihood, because these are the patients who are there on the bed in the redundant position, the soiling will be very high. So that place sticking appropriately is going to be very difficult for you. If I can show it to you on a patient who is there on the bed, the patient is going to be lying like this.
Yeah, I
We-
know.
Our lines are over here. Most of our lines are over here, all the invasive lines.
Okay.
The best place for you is to develop it something that identifies the carotid. Again, the carotid has if you see the anatomy of the carotid, the baroreceptors and the vasoreceptors, the vagal nerve passes from the carotid sheath. So even monitoring of the ECG will be better from here than on the vertebral.
But the thing is, when we tried different, in fact, I even tried the brachial artery just below the clavicle. I saw it going through it.
The axillary, subclavian.
So I was able to pick up from here, but there were many cases, the sensitivity of the skin letting through this light go in and come out was varying very erratically from people to people. But here I found almost 99% of them I was able to pick up. So that is why the reason for picking, because if I have to give BP, if I had just to do with SpO2, I wouldn't have worried too much because it would have been fairly accurate. But the fact that I need to do my BP so well, I need clean waves. I need absolutely clean waves like the one you get with the finger. And that is not happening so well anywhere.
Brachial. Your brachial.
Yeah, strangely, if I come here, I get well. Okay. And finger of course. And here, if I go here, I am able to get somewhere here, but it's not consistent. Actually, I don't know why I needed to work with somebody with close anatomy across a larger base to actually identify that. I was actually planning to do that now. Since it will have a long wire, I can try it at different places at patients. I want to cross about 500 or 1,000 patients to see the real pickup. And I need to see from the fairly dark patients to the lighter patients because the melanin seems to affect it quite a bit. The IR and the red to go in and come out. So it's still open, but my success rate here has been high. So I was quite thrilled with that. But definitely we'll try the other positions.
What you are doing is you are doing it through the cutaneous receptors, which are located on the nail bed.
Correct.
Then again, when you mentioned melanin, so the nail bed has a very profound capillary connection. You need to identify a capillary connection. If you are saying because your SpO2 probe and your plotting of the SpO2 and the plotting of your pulse waveform is giving you your blood pressures. That is what is the software what is trying to do, if I may understand it correctly.
Correct.
So that happens with the capillary protection. So you will have to find a capillary bed. There is a very dense capillary bed. Until when I suggested carotid, I was understanding that you needed a vessel, a bigger one. But that is not the software what is doing. The software is understanding it through a capillary bed. The capillary bed is the dense most on the nail bed, on the lobula, and on the vertebral.
Okay. So that is why
That
I'm
is
able
what your
to.
capillary bed is sensing. That is what your software is sensing, the capillary bed probably. That is the reason why you got it on the vertebral and not on the carotid. Otherwise, carotid will give you the most appropriate blood pressures.
No, I'm able to pick up the waves if I hit the artery straight. But from people to people, the arteries shift. So you will have to have somebody locate it. That becomes the problem. Even when I did it just below the clavicle, I can get it right as long as I position it exactly over the artery.
Have
Then,
you tried it with the axilla?
no, not really.
You may try it with the axilla, and the distance it travels from your patch,
The
like
axilla also is very
the
less.
axilla is very less, and it is pretty comfortable. The patient will not have much of an issue. Even if the patient is in the ward, and even if the patient is mobile, the axilla is going to be pretty comfortable for the patient. And there is a very big capillary bed there as well. The axillary artery is a big artery, and the anatomy is pretty much consistent patient to patient there.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll try that. I'll definitely give it. Which
I will have
hospital
to
do you,
dismantle. Sorry.
no, which hospital do you practice in, doctor?
Currently, I'm at Vanadongri, Nagpur.
Nagpur,
I am
Nagpur.
working with the Datta Mega Institute in Nagpur.
Maybe we'll send some devices when we're actually doing the trial. We'll do one with
I
your
would
hospital.
be glad. You can use my ICU. You can send in a few devices, and I can give you your reporting of the invasive and the non-invasive.
Actually, we're trying to find sites which can actually do this and show us how good the.
Aziz sir will help you with that. We have our ethics committee which can give you a proper RCT done, wherein.
Okay. So right now our sites we're choosing are Narayana Health, Dr. Shetty's hospital. He's more than keen to jumpy about whatever you're saying. So he's already identified people. So we're also looking at other sites that are not connected with us. I don't know if Deepak told you, Dr. Shetty is an investor in our.
Yes, I read it from your presentation.
So we are looking at other sites which we are not connected with. That's why I was curious. So
You're more than welcome to work with us. So I am able to understand what you're trying to say this because my immediate boss is currently at the Texas Heart in Belor. He is the director of the Belor Center of Texas Heart, and they are currently working with a AI based it is basically classified, but I don't understand how much of classified it is. The Abbott company is currently working on an AI-based sensor that is sitting on the intra-arterial cannula.
Okay.
And that sensor gives you the complete ABG analysis.
Okay.
And that gives you a complete continuous arterial blood gas analysis.
Oh, okay.
So it gives you the hemoglobin, the blood gas, the lactate levels. So it is very important. He is the head of the transplant program that is going on there.
Okay.
So we have frequent conversations at AI-based thing that is working, that he is working with.
Interesting.
Maybe with Anand, we can sit on that and develop an indigenous work on that before Abbott comes out with it.
No, very interesting. They chose the cannula because somehow or other everybody is connected to a cannula in the hospital. So
yes, so it is a invasive arterial cannula. It can be a femoral line or a radial line, and that chip is sitting on that cannula.
Okay.
Specifically for the transplant patients, because transplant patients, heart transplant and lung transplant patients, you have to have your ABG analysis 4 hours. 3 hourly. This is a continuous ABG analysis that gives you your lactate levels, your mixed venous gases, all the gases, the HB. So it is a continuous monitoring of it.
So it's very critical to show how well the lung is doing right now and things like
Yes,
that.
yes, of course. We have to do it every 3 hourly. We have to take a sample, go to a machine and get it done. This gives you a complete, there's a continuous intra-arterial monitoring that goes on. So to give you the system, specifically for the transplant patients, and he's the head of the transplant department there.
Okay. Great.
So more than welcome. My ICU is currently a very tiny ICU. I can show you. That's the ICU. My patients are there.
Oh, okay.
So, and they're all connected to my central monitor here. I just operated, the patient is being extubated there.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure, doctor.
You're more than welcome. I am at a very, Dr. Shetty and Dr. Prasanna Sima and all these people in Jayadeva, they're all seniors. They're all my teachers.
Okay.
But I have been inclined into research. That is what I think Dr. Kazi introduced me to you guys.
No. There are very few who understand the workings of the SpO2 itself. They only know the peripheral lines. So when I talked to some of the intensivists and I asked them positions where it works, they struggle. They have no clue. So the fact that
It's the capillary bed.
so
Monitoring
very few understand the capillary flow. The 2 LED system, which actually picks up the non-red and the red together. That's where the IR and the red works. So
send in across your machine, your device, this device to Kazi sir. We will sit in their R&D department. I will dismantle it and I will reassemble it. And I will give you more of insight of what more it can do with that device.
okay.
I will have to dismantle it once to understand what more it can do.
Anyway.
Try the axilla. Trust me, try the axilla. You might get a breakthrough.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Sure. I think, all right. So I think we had a fantastic conversation. Thank you,
Yes.
Dr. Sumbul Siddiqui, and thank you, Zaisa, for your support. Thank you, Ashok, Anandji, Praveen, and Azak. So we'll surely take this forward, Anand. I'll come back to you, and we'll see how we can take this forward. All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Shukriya. Jazakallah
Bye.
khair.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.